You know that feeling when you just feel stuck? Or maybe tired or just plain irritated by things that honestly used to work just fine? And you start wondering, wait, is something wrong with me? Well, if that sounds familiar, you're in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to dive into this really powerful framework called the Vehicle Authority Model. It's all about reframing that whole experience so you can finally stop explaining yourself and just start moving. And right off the bat, this is the core idea. And honestly, it changes everything. That feeling of discomfort, it's not a sign that you're failing. Not at all. Think of it as a signal, like a dashboard light coming on. It's a crucial piece of data telling you that you've simply outgrown the container you're in. All right, so that leads us perfectly into our first big idea, the outgrown vehicle. The main metaphor we're going to use here is that we all operate inside of vehicles. These can be our jobs, our roles, our relationships. And the big takeaway? Sometimes the problem isn't you, the driver. It's just that the vehicle itself, it's just too small now. And this is so important, so let it really sink in. You are not broken. It is so easy to feel that friction and immediately think, I'm the problem. But what this model suggests is, no, you're just mispositioned. And you know, the best part about being mispositioned? That's something you can actually change. Okay, so let's be super clear on what we mean by a vehicle, right? It's basically any container you operate inside of. We're talking about your job title, the role you play in your family, a certain friendship. Heck, it could even be an offer you make in your business. And think of it like a favorite sweater. You can just outgrow it. It doesn't mean the sweater was bad. It just doesn't fit who you are today. So the big question is, how do you know when a vehicle doesn't fit anymore? Well, the answer usually isn't in your head. Long before your logical brain catches up, your body is already sending out these really clear signals. It's time we started listening to that data. And these signals are, super specific. See if any of these ring a bell for you, like physically bracing your body before a meeting or holding your breath when you open up that one person's email. What about that low-grade chronic fatigue or irritation that you just can't shake? Or maybe just feeling totally numb. And pay close attention to that last one, over-explaining your choices. Oh yeah, that is a huge one. And this really gets to the core of why we over-explain. Listen, this is not some character flaw you have. It's a survival response, and it's probably deeply ingrained. For so many of us, we learn this in environments, maybe as a kid, maybe in a toxic job, where our safety, our emotional or even physical safety, depended on other people thinking we were agreeable or non-threatening, on being perfectly understood. So this brings up a really powerful question for you to sit with. And I mean really take a second with this one. Where in your life did you learn that you had to justify your own presence, your choices, your right to even be in the room? Just naming where that came from can take away so much of its power over you. Okay, so you've recognized the signals. You're feeling ready to make a change. But then, bam, you hit a wall. Resistance. So let's talk about what we call the test of resistance and how you can learn to see it not as a big red stop sign, but actually as a signal that you're getting really close to a new level of your own power. Now, this is a massive reframe, so stay with me. The moment you start to shift, the system around you, your family, your workplace, your friends, it often pushes back. It's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because you're crossing some invisible line they're used to, and the system is, in a way, testing your new authority. It's totally predictable. It's a threshold moment. And here's the really tricky part. This resistance is sneaky. It's almost always disguised as something helpful. It sounds like concern. Oh, I'm just worried about you. But what it really is a test of your boundaries. It looks like advice, but it's actually a challenge to your authority. It can even be dressed up as protection, when really it's just checking to see if you're really serious about this change. And that brings us to another game-changing question. When you feel that pushback and you start doubting yourself, ask this: who benefits when I doubt myself? Wow, that question just completely shifts the focus, doesn't it? It takes it from what's wrong with me to, wait, what's the dynamic happening here? And it helps you stop taking all that resistance so personal. Okay, so how do we actually navigate all this? Well, that brings us to the action part. Movement creates clarity. This is the real path to finding and stepping into that new vehicle. And just a heads up, it's probably the exact opposite of what you think you're supposed to do. See, most of us are taught to think our way out of a problem, right? We wait and wait until we have the perfect, foolproof, crystal clear plan before we dare to make a move. But what we're learning about the nervous system is that the exact opposite is true. It's the action, even the tiniest bit of movement, that creates the clarity we're so desperate for. So what does this movement actually look like? Look, we're not talking about some massive, life-altering leap here. It can be super small. It could be as simple as leaving a conversation that's draining you just 5 minutes earlier than you normally would, or changing one single habitual response, or even moving a little bit of money from one bank account to another just to symbolize a new priority. It could be enforcing one tiny boundary. These little actions, they send a brand new signal to your nervous system. And as you do this, it is absolutely crucial to reframe what these shifts actually mean. Deciding to leave a situation, that's not failure. Hitting the pause button, that is not quitting. Redirecting your energy somewhere else, that's not avoidance, that's being strategic. And upgrading your standards, upgrading your vehicle, that is not arrogance, it's alignment. And all of this movement, all of these little shifts, they lead us to the final, most powerful outcome of this whole process: embodied authority. This is about getting to a place where you're just inhabiting a state where you don't need to ask for permission or look for validation from anyone else. And let's make a really important distinction here. This isn't about having the right resume or a slick presentation to prove you're worthy. No, true authority is an embodied state. It's something you feel deep down in your bones, and because you feel it, other people can sense it on you, long before their brains can even understand or explain why. So just for a moment, try to imagine this. What would it actually feel like in your body to be seen, to be acknowledged for what you know, and to just let that recognition land without shrinking, without making a self-deprecating joke, without explaining it away, just letting it be there? How would that feel? And this is really the crucial point to wrap up with. We throw the word confidence around a lot, right? But this model is aiming for something so much deeper than that. It is about alignment. It's that beautiful state when your body, your actions, and your inner authority are all singing the same song. And that is a kind of power that doesn't have to shout to be felt. And so we're going to end right where we began with this one final thought for you to carry with you. If you find yourself constantly justifying, constantly defending, constantly explaining your place, your value, your decisions, maybe, just maybe, it's not you that needs fixing. It might just be time for a different vehicle.